This is Paris on Politics from Fox 32 Chicago.
Today's all about our service members and their sacrifices to ensure the precious freedoms that we enjoy, including that grand and messy experiment in self-governance known as democracy. No messier than the legislative experiment that keeps the state of Illinois running. Who are we kidding? For years, decades even, this wasn't much of a democracy. Convicted former House Speaker Mike Madigan ran the show. If he thought legislation was in his political interest, he'd allow it to move forward. If not, he didn't. He helped gerrymander maps as well to make sure his members would be as safe as possible, as if the politicians chose the constituents, not the other way around. Things have improved somewhat in his absence, although current House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch has his own bugaboos with full-on democracy. His rule is that no legislation moves forward unless it has a supermajority of 60 Democrats in favor of it. Legislation that might have less than that, but Republicans on board? No thanks. To be fair, Welch wants the sponsor of a bill to demonstrate they can get momentum before he sticks his neck out to allow a vote. The thing is, he wants to bat 1,000. Politics might not be beanbag, as the late Harold Washington said, but it's also not baseball. There's no shame in putting a bill up for vote and seeing it fail. Batting .250 is okay as far as constituents are concerned. Which brings us to our state's current predicament. There are 5 days left to go in this legislative session and huge issues still unresolved. So while you clean the grill and put the cooler away, allow me to remind you of some of those big items. Governor Pritzker's $55 billion spending proposal that attempts to close a $3.5 billion budget gap. Will there be new taxes to pay for it? Will the controversial health care program for undocumented immigrants get the axe? Or how about the Chicago region's $770 million transit fiscal cliff? Without billions in new funding, the CTA, Metro, and Pace have threatened massive service cuts and fare hikes. Will the agencies merge into one to become more efficient? And finally, the Bears. Will the General Assembly pick up the pigskin and give them some legislative help that could save them hundreds of millions of dollars? This is all big stuff, but this is also Illinois, where democracy comes with a small d. And the details get hammered out in back rooms or over a plate of baked mostaccioli at Saputo's restaurant, only to be revealed at the 11th hour when legislators are forced to vote on something they didn't even have a chance to read. Looks like the current session is headed for a familiar ending. So on this Memorial Day, we pause and reflect on the sacrifices our men and women in uniform made to preserve democracy. I'm just not sure how some of our political leaders at the state and federal level are fully living up to those sacrifices.
Coming up on Paris on Politics.
Tonight, at some point, I hope to hear we are going to Arlington Heights.
The mayor of Arlington Heights sounds off on what it will take to close the deal with the Chicago Bears. How some area VFWs are attracting new members for the future. And we're off to the races inside the early field in the contest for Dick Durbin's U.S. Senate seat.
This is Paris on Politics from Fox 32 Chicago.
Welcome to Paris on Politics, where we take you behind the headlines and beyond the spin. The Chicago Bears have been flirting with both the city of Chicago and the village of Arlington Heights on a new stadium complex. But team president Kevin Warren has indicated Arlington Heights is now in the lead. The town is currently reviewing an economic impact and traffic study the team submitted to them. I caught up with Arlington Heights Mayor Jim Tinaglia at the town's Memorial Day festivities and asked him if it's a done deal.
Nothing is a lock. I mean, we're working hard with all of the Bears, executive personnel, Kevin and George and everyone else. They chose their words very carefully, shifting focus toward Arlington Heights. At some point, I hope to hear we are going to Arlington Heights. That's the ultimate goal, I believe. We are ready for that to happen. And I think it will, really do.
When you gauge the community, what percentage is in favor, what percentage is not so hot on this?
That's a great question, Paris. I don't know that I can tell you percentage-wise. I can tell you this. There's a lot of people who are excited about the idea of them coming here, but I also know there's a lot of folks who are concerned. So my job as mayor is not only to make those that are excited about it happy, but I want to do everything I can to take care of all the concerns of those who are worried. I fit that category. I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about economics. I'm concerned about infrastructure. I'm concerned about safety. These are all things that will get worked out. I'm certain of that. There's going to be no shortage of discussion on those 4 topics.
If that land gets developed the way that the Bears have planned, what would that mean for the town and this part of the region?
Well, I think it would mean an economic boom in as far as, real estate taxes, sales taxes, things like that. It's going to be something that nothing like this ever happened before in this general region. So how much and how wonderful, that's going to be the wild card to find out. But it has to be win-win. I know the Bears are going to do everything they can to make sure it's really well thought out and profitable for them. We're going to be doing the same thing. Arlington Heights is a wonderful place without it. We are a good, solid program here as we stand. So anything that gets added like that has to add to it. It can't be something that takes away from anything. So
we know that the Bears have been looking for help in Springfield. There is a bill by a local representative that would give mega developments like the Bears project the ability to negotiate their assessments to keep, property taxes from ballooning.
Yes.
Is that something that you believe, if it passes, kind of seals the deal for Arlington Heights?
Well, I won't say seals the deal. I don't know that there's any way to really seal the deal for us. That's something George McCaskey and his family will make that decision. But I would say that if this bill were to pass at the end of this month, I believe it'll be a strong influence for the betterment of their project. They will be in a position to have some certainty on some issues, and financially it'll make a lot of sense. It may be almost impossible to imagine without it. So I am very hopeful that the legislators in Springfield give it a lot of good thought and give it a lot of good consideration, and at the end of the day, at the end of the month, I hope it works out.
And again, legislators have 5 more days. Saturday is the last day they can work on items in this fiscal year, so we'll see what comes down the pike. And we're back with how local VFWs are fighting to survive on this Memorial Day.